Breaking news! Everybody in Ireland, all my loyal patriots and nationalists, the two Johnnies, Ireland's biggest podcasters, have sold out. Okay, breaking news, they have sold out. You guys have sold out. What has happened? Breaking news from the journal.ie. Taoiseach Simon Harris was sent a lengthy list of 23 pre-interview questions ahead of his appearance on the famous Two Johnnies podcast, despite government officials denying that such a list has been received. So the government said officially in their official report to the official people, to you, the official people, this is their official report, okay? Straight lies. And it said that there had been no preloaded questions. This was an honest and open and fair review where the two Johnnies were free to grill the Taoiseach, the soon-to-be Taoiseach, before the November elections. Well, it turns out that was all a big facade. They duped us once again, the Irish public. Wow, unbelievable. So we're gonna click on this article. This is the Journal. For those who don't know what the Journal is, basically like an Irish newspaper. Okay, mainstream media. I call that mainstream. We are the mainstream. Me, and Gripped Media. We're all the mainstream media. We get more views than these people. We have more subscribers, all that good stuff. But unbelievable. The Journal has just revealed that Simon Harris appeared on an episode shortly before the election in November, and it came under the release of the Freedom of Information laws, okay? So that he was given 23 questions in advance. Guys, that's unbelievable. So, for those who don't know, if you guys live abroad or whatever, the two Johnnies are basically like Joe Rogan, okay? They're the Joe Rogan of Ireland, okay? And that would be like basically Joe Rogan having preloaded questions before Donald Trump, before Kamala Harris. I know Kamala Harris didn't actually end up coming on his podcast, but Joe Rogan actually refused to have Kamala Harris on his podcast because they said that we only want an hour-long podcast. We only want, these preloaded questions. So he refused. The two Johnnies, of course, guys, the Spotify money wasn't enough. The €6 million Spotify money wasn't enough. They also needed the more of the attention by having the Taoiseach on, by selling their soul. And I'll tell you guys, once you sell your reputation down the river, it's a hard one to come back from. It's a hard one to come back from. Who would have thought this, guys? Let's read this article. So, the advance outline was sent to one of Harris's advisors ahead of the Taoiseach's appearance on the podcast in November, just days before the general election was called. So it could have shifted the general election completely if he was grilled properly. If he was actually given an interview and a podcast properly, it could have swayed the people's opinion of him, and maybe would have had somebody more patriotic, more nationalistic elected. Hey, who would have known? It could have happened. The interview was to be separated into two parts, covering the personal and the general, according to an email released under Freedom of Information laws. Unbelievable. The department of the Taoiseach at first said no records of the podcast existed, so they straight up lied to the people. And the outline of questions was only released following a special request from an internal review. So they were not going to release this to the public unless they were questioned. This is complete. People don't understand how massive. This is breaking news. This is the biggest news you've ever seen. It could have turned over the election. Who would have known? During the episode of the hugely popular Spotify show, which they got €6 million or dollars, whatever, to join the Spotify, the two Johnnies were visited in studio by Harris with the trio to discuss the housing crisis, the high level of young people emigrating to Australia and Canada, and immigration levels in Ireland. Wow, immigration in Ireland. I haven't watched the episode, but I guarantee they didn't ask any grilling questions. I bet they didn't ask any questions about immigration or the levels of crime or, the stabbing, in Parnell Square last year. I bet they asked none of that. In promotional posts on social media, Johnny B and Johnny Smacks, the two loyal Irish, the Irish lads, the lads from down the road, the lads that have the Irish accent and, how are you getting on, lads? And we're Irish, we're for the people. Weren't really for the people on this podcast. Not really for the people anymore, are they? This is what talks. They described the episode, the interview the nation didn't know it needed. Well, we definitely know that it was a fake episode now, so we definitely know we didn't need it now. The nation knew that we didn't need it because it was just bought and paid for. We definitely didn't need it. The podcast regularly tops Irish charts with an average of 750,000 weekly listeners according to a digital audio marketplace, Audio One. Question lists. The lengthy list of interview questions were sent in advance to a former Examiner journalist, government press secretary, Ciara Phelan. Many of the questions made in the official interview, which aired on the 4th of November, wow, just before the election. The personal set of questions included such queries: when you become Taoiseach, can you have a personal life? So that's basically like, preloaded, already saying like, when you get in power, are you going to have a personal life, etc., etc. So they're already kind of shifting the public's persona and the thought process on, okay, he's already Taoiseach, let's leave this guy as Taoiseach. So it's kind of brainwashing, it's manipulative. This was following questions by Harris's family, such as, do you still do housework now that you're a leader of a country? Who's harder to deal with, the kids or the Healy-Raes? So again, they're against the Healy-Raes, who are nationalist, patriotic people. Now we found out that they're not really anymore, that they're bought and paid for as well, the Healy-Raes, unfortunately. But, these questions are lefty for the government, Marxist, communist type questions. They are on the left questions, guys. There is no doubt about it, okay? Because obviously the Healy-Raes are more conservative on the right side, okay? Do you do housework when you're leader of the country? I don't think this guy did ever any housework. Has he ever lifted a weight? Pencil neck, let's just say. A list of the questions provided to the Taoiseach. Okay, now we have the entire actual, we have the whole conscript here, guys. That's unbelievable. Here's an outline of the questions that we had in mind. So this is unreal. This is all the questions that they were supposed to ask, okay? You ask these questions. Make sure you don't go outside these questions now, the two Johnnies, or else we're going to be mad. We might pull your show. Who knows? This is unreal. This is basically, in America, they're patriotic. They're absolute legends in the US, especially Joe Rogan. He had Donald Trump on, okay? Obviously more conservative leaning. Instead, in Ireland, what do? We have Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael on, okay? The people that have been in power that have ruined the country, in my personal opinion. Left-wing people on this show. It's the complete opposite of what happened with the Joe Rogan and Donald Trump podcast. Unbelievable. As well as the broad questions about his sporting and musical interests, the Taoiseach was also briefed to expect questions on whether he listened to the Two Johnnies podcast. I mean, of course. Other items in the outline: do you wreck your head when you're out and about? Do you have security all the time with you? What do you think of the newspapers? Oh, please, we're on your side. We think that you should, that people shouldn't question you, or, you should not be questioned. You should be the almighty leader of the country. What do you think about the newspapers? Please don't listen to grip media. Don't listen to anyone saying anything. When you call Donald Trump a gowl, how is that gonna heed our international relations? No, don't ask that question. Okay, the general section dipped into more controversial topics, including immigration. Here we go. A question was suggested. Johnny Max is from Roscrea. Thoughts on the situation there? Closing the town's only hotel to accommodate refugees. Wow, okay, so 2 questions. In the episode, Harris said in response that no one gets a veto to who lives next door to them. Oh, there we go. That's it. That's the winning question. No one gets a veto as to who lives next door to them. You don't get to decide, the people of Ireland, what happens in your own country. You don't get a vote on it. You don't get to decide. You are scum. You are a pleb. You're a plebeian. You do not deserve anything. Okay, you listen to me, the almighty leader, Simon Harris. In other general questions sent in advance to Harris covered the lack of housing, emigration to Canada and Australia, and rural Ireland. Is there an urban-rural disconnect? Why do you think so many young Irish people are going to Australia? Your plan to get them back? What's your plan to get them back from Australia? There is no plan. The plan is not to get them back. There's no plan. Harris doesn't care about people that leave the country. He doesn't care about how he ruins the country. I tell you that, man, for free. I'll tell you that for free, guys. He doesn't care. He doesn't want the kids to come back to Australia, because then he'll have young, patriotic people, nationalistic people that love the country, that will vote him out of power. He only wants people that he knows that will vote for him. Yeah. Housing. Many young working couples are not able to afford, buy, or build. Conditions for young nurses and guards. Wow, that was okay. I'm surprised they even asked that. The Taoiseach was told of a possible question over catfishing, including the notorious case of where somebody online tried to dupe one of the podcast hosts, as well as high-profile GA players. Yeah, I did a reaction to that, and I actually used to really like the Two Johnnies podcast, but this has kind of solidified my kind of dislike for them now. Unfortunately, they're bought and paid for. they followed all these questions. Okay, guys, were they secretly paid for this podcast episode? Were they secretly told, hey, we'll give you guys an extra, let me give you guys an extra money off the top? How much were they paid for this episode? We'll never know, guys. We don't know anything. They don't tell us anything. Okay, of course, Johnny B, following his second head too much, went astray and followed some high profile woman who catfished over 200 men. Pretty funny. Will we see any changes to the rules of social media? Oh, here we go. Now they're getting at me, guys. This is where it comes. This is where my gripe comes in. This is where my disgust comes in. Will we see any changes to social media? Your own approach to social media is an important way to communicate. Okay? So obviously, they're trying to get the public to say, yes, there should be licenses for social media. There should be people not earning money from social media. Nobody should have a voice anymore. Unless you're verified. Unless. And then there's a list of things that you have to do. Maybe you have to pay for a license. €100 a year to post on YouTube. €100 a year to post on Instagram. And make sure you don't say anything against the government. Make sure you don't say anything against us. Oh no. Big repercussions for that. The brief said, and there was a question as well saying, will we ever see a 32 county Ireland? And one of the Taoiseach's biggest challenges and ambitions. Will we ever see a 32 county Ireland? Wow. Hopefully, that would be amazing to see, of course. And a lot of people in my comments actually would love to see that. Absolutely insane. That's all we have from the journal.ie today. Hope I give you guys a few things to think about, all my nationalists and patriotic people of Ireland alike. Just know that the two Johnnies aren't on your side. They're on the side of big corporation. Big corporation. What corporation is that, guys? GoLoud.com, a German-owned company, unbelievably enough. GoLoud.com. GoLoud.com. Wow. Bought and paid for by the Germans. I thought we won that war against the Germans back in 1945. Apparently not. They still own us. Except we don't speak German. I love you all. Like, comment, subscribe if you want to support me. Link is in the description section of this video for my Patreon. For just the price of a coffee every month, I can help combat these ideas that these people put to you, try and brainwash you people. I can help combat those ideas. If you want to support me, link is in the description. €5 a month, it's nothing. You guys, can get a voice out there. I actually speak for the people, unlike the two Johnnies, guys. Bought and paid for. €6 million Spotify deal on top of whatever they're getting isn't enough. They got to get the government on their side as well. Wow. Let me know if there was any controversial questions. I don't know, guys. I didn't watch the podcast. Let me know if there's any questions that I think, were more conservative questions asked towards the Taoiseach. I bet not. I don't think so. I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next one, guys. Stay free.